Like this.
Yeah. All right. Hi, people. Welcome to OINK Live. If you're joining us for the first time, remember we are at OINK on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Today, I'm joined by two beautiful ladies. Our guest is Sophie Metta. Sophie was kind enough to come onto our show to share her journey about her living and testing and living positively with HIV. And we have Sophie, our resident psychologist, who is always with us, who's always gracing our screens. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies. My name is Adero Ochola. Remember to roll the R. And before I let Sophie indulge, I'm going to dwell on Susan. Susan, thanks so much for being with us, even with your busy schedule. I know you're at a party after party, and I hope you're keeping social distance and sanitizing.
Definitely. Yes.
Okay, so thanks so much for taking your time to be with us. It means a lot that you are busy, but you're with us on OINK. So yes, Sophie, I'm going to describe Sophie in not so many words. She's a God-fearing lady, jack of all trades. Sophie loves positive energy around her all the time, and she wants to use her story just to inspire and give hope to someone who is probably living with HIV, has probably just tested or doesn't know how to go about the situation. So Susan, apart from the small bio that I've introduced about yourself, what else can you tell us about Sophie? About Susan. Sorry, Susan. This S
on your mind, eh?
This S and S. Susan Metta.
I know.
Yes,
okay, my name is Susan.
I'm even mixing
yes.
names. Sorry.
Metta with Sophie, you know.
Yeah, Sophie.
Yeah.
Susan.
Okay, my name is Susan Metta.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 39 years old. I'm HIV positive, living positively, healthy. As you said, as I said before, I'm a jack of all trades. And my ambition right now is to work with people living with HIV and who are in fear and in stigma.
Okay. So I guess we'll just go straight to your story, Susan, and
yes,
I'll just leave it open for you to tell us, like, when did you discover that you're living with HIV?
So it was around 2018 in June. I got a job. I'm a hotelier, so that is a side job. Mm-hmm. So I was posted in Juba for a small contract, and I left around 20 something in June. The job was very good. It was well paying, but there was a problem between the owner of the company, who's a Sudanese, with the Sudanese government. So at around August, September, October, there was a lot of wrangles, and we closed down in October. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, my mom became unwell. So I think it was the shock. You know, at times HIV is related when you're stressed, it hits you so bad. So because of the shock of losing my job, and my mom was feeling unwell. So I became unwell. We were evacuated back to Nairobi. So from then I started being sickly. I would have a running stomach. I would have persistent headaches. I would have serious back problems and what have you. So, and at that point you're stressed, you're drinking a lot, So I realized I'm shedding weight. So I remember the first time I shed weight from 105 kgs to around 62 kgs. Oh. So clearly that was the first red flag. How would you lose that much weight? So, but I didn't take it seriously. But again, now it became persistent. I could buy Panadols or serious painkillers, didn't work. And then I would sell for malaria. It's not working. I'm still using up. So towards December 2018. So in January 2019 was at the peak of it. I remember it was around 16th on 14th of January. I decided to go to the hospital, to a private hospital near me, to do a test, because I kept on telling myself, at least if I go and test, I'll have an idea of whatever is eating me up, rather than keeping quiet and then shit happens, you know. So I took myself to the hospital. But funny enough, you know, as much as you're courageous, there's always that fear. So when I reached the hospital, I just reached the door and I came back. I'm like, I don't have the guts. So that was on 14th. On 15th, I became very sick. I couldn't even get out of the house.
Wow.
So on 16th, I decided now I needed to get someone to go and take me to the hospital. I called my sisters and we went to the hospital, and I went directly to the lab. I didn't want even consultation. Like, my mind was like, I just need to know. So I went, I just told to the lab, I need to test. So I went and tested, and you know, they just give you a brief, like if it's negative, it's supposed to be one line. If it's positive, it's going to come 2 lines. So he kept on chatting me, kidogo kidogo. He's like, the results are ready, let's just check. You know, when I just checked like this, there were 2 lines. I didn't cry. I just felt like, unajua vile unasikianga kwa tumbo, that.
Wow.
Because my fear was, what if it was cancer? Because I knew if I tested negative, then there was something serious, because my hair had typically fallen on the sides and at the back. Like, I had nothing. It was only in the middle. So I knew it was something bad. So when I tested and I became positive, the guys were, you need to see a doctor, you need to be tested. So they took me to be cancelled. Sorry. So I went and the doctor, he talked to me. I think that was the only that I cried. You know, there are those things, they really cancel you. So it hits home. Like, hey, Sue, this is it. So, but that was the only time that I cried. After that, he asked me, like, would you want to start your medication, or would you want us to talk to you until you're ready? I told them, because I love myself. And I mean, I believe people can still live. I don't want to die. I'd rather just take my medication. So I was put on immediately on Septrins and ARV. So I started the journey on that day. I remember I slept at my sister. And then the next day, I told my sister, I can't like sleep here again, because I want to walk with myself on this journey. Because if I become dependent on you guys, the moment I go back to my house, I'll start all over again, baby steps, and I might relapse, and it will not be good for me. So I told them, however much hard it is, kindly release me. And I went back to my house. They were very supportive. I told one friend of mine called Aldrin and another one called Liz. And that is how it started. It was not easy the first few weeks, because, you know, I'm still having a running stomach. The appetite is gone. I'm taking medication, and the medication is fighting the virus. And, you know, when I tested, my CD4 count was at 249, which I understand at 200, you're already reaching full-blown AIDS. So you can imagine I was almost on the verge of being on the sick bed, you know. So I promised, you know, I love myself, you can see. So I told myself, you know me, the Kasle Queen will not die, nimefungwa pampers or anything, you know. So I told myself, I'm going to eat, I'm going to work hard until I regain myself. So that was it. It was a journey of like 3 weeks to 1 month of fighting, not eating, but I would really be consistent on fruits and uji until I regain my strength after 1 month. And then after 1 month, I started now like going out. I started now eating other foods. And I said, you know, however much hard it is, let me just continue with life. So that was it until, that was it.
Okay, I'll take you back just a bit now that you've given us a bit of that story, of your story. What went through your mind? Okay, when you went to hospital, why was it that your guess was HIV and not something else, not meningitis, not anything else? Why did you?
Because I don't, okay, given the fact we have Google, you know, at times you have that Google Mwalimu. So I know cancer and HIV have something in common, loss of hair. loss of weight, loss of appetite, opportunistic infections.
Okay.
So I could tell myself those two small things, it could be one of the two. So, and then, I had a lot of ulcers. So I knew if it's not the HIV, it's the cancer of the stomach. So clearly you can imagine how scary it was. So I had to do something because either way I didn't want to die. So I said I have just to go and test.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
just to be out there, when was can you estimate a time that, say, maybe probably I had it for this a year, or because sometimes people are like, when do the symptoms start? So can you estimate maybe from the last time you were unwell, apart from then now when you went to get tested, that maybe you say, I was not sick, the last time I was sick was 7 months prior to that, and then all of a sudden now it's downhill from there?
At times it's difficult to tell because it depends how your immune system is. If you're not stressed, if you're eating well, if you're not drinking a lot. And so I can't quite figure out. What I know is what I can tell, maybe from the first days of infection, I understand there are some signs that first few weeks of infection. So I think it's between 2016, 2015, because there was a time I just got sick, shivers, everything, then it went away.
Yeah, so
But I
that's
would have,
actually,
ulcers, something like that.
oh, so actually that's long, like 2016 to 2019, because sometimes,
Mhm.
okay, as you've said, immunity, someone who is actually in
And
denial.
eating well, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, there are many people living with HIV and they don't know.
Yes.
Okay. And so the doctor tells you you're positive. You said you cried in as much as you went to get tested, and at the back of your mind was that you might come out HIV positive. Just that feeling,
Mm-hmm.
what went through your mind then? Okay, I suspected I am, but now this is it. I've been told I am HIV positive.
Yes. So it was about, I think, when he was talking to me, reality things like, well, there's that fear. Let's not lie, that akunanga, that fear. There's that fear of, what if I die? What if I don't make it? What if I don't beat this? As I said, I love myself so much, and I'm a very strong. I have a very strong. I'm a very strong and brave person. So my worry was letting myself down and allowing other people to see it as shame.
Okay.
Laughing at you like she got it, she's going down the drain and stuff. That was my biggest fear. Nothing, not taking the medication, not anything else, but being restored, coming from down there and going up. That was my main fear.
Okay. And in terms of the counseling they gave you, the counseling you're given before and after, did you feel after they counseled you or spoke to you? Because of course it's not magic, and it's not something that you can say that you'll get over. You're told there, and then at the end of the day you're still alone, in quotes. Did you feel like they helped you
Yes.
go through that path?
Okay, now this is where now another hospital comes in. So I tested at a private hospital. Remember, I didn't want people to know. Actually, I didn't test at Kitengela. I went somewhere else in the river. So
Wow.
then somebody referred me to Liverpool, LVCT Hurlingham, just before Chaka Place stage. So I took a transfer letter there. After a week, I went there. I was received by a very nice counselor. Her name is Cecilia, and she took me through bit by bit, through nutrition, through everything, for a period of on weekly basis, for a period of a month. Like I used to go for clinic on weekly basis. She checked on
Wow.
me. She would call. She would do everything, and she's a very motherly person. So it was easy for me to trust her. for us to relate, made me feel comfortable. She made everything easy for me. She made me see, like, she gave me stories, success stories of other people who go there. She showed me their photos of how they've progressed,
Wow.
and I realized, wow, I can actually be somebody. And that's how she helped me, like,
Wow.
walk the talk.
Okay, I'm asking that because I was watching when doing my research, I was watching something about a equally beautiful lady called Fenia Witty. I'm sure we all know her, who came out. She was born with
Yes.
HIV, and she keeps sharing her story. She has children. She's married, and there's the aspect of she didn't get any counseling in school. Like she was in high school when she found out, yeah, because people came to test, and of course she was shocked, and no one ever told her that she had HIV. So now for her, the counseling was just totally different. Like, haya, ulipata iwapi, and the assumption already that she slept with someone. You see, where people assume that you can only get
Yeah,
HIV if you sleep with someone, you must be promiscuous to get HIV. So that's why I
that
was
is
asking
true.
that, just for even anyone who's watching, and that's why also Sophie is here. She's going to lead us on that aspect of counseling and what exactly is expected of them from uh, a doctor's perspective. Yeah. Okay, so now
Yeah.
your sister knows. That you're HIV positive. Now to your family, your immediate family, that includes your mom. How did you go about this? When were you ready to come out and talk about it?
Well, so after, like, around from January to around somewhere like October, I was not ready to open up. But after October, then I realized I don't need to carry this burden. Like, I don't need to feel like I'm hiding. I don't need to hide when I'm taking my medication. I don't feel like I need to go and hide in the toilet. Like, why? What is the big deal? I want to feel comfortable around people near me. I want, if somebody is trying to vibe me, I need just to tell them from the word go, this is my situation. So I didn't like plan, by the way. Me, I'm just a go person. So I started like tu kama kawaida. Like, I would tell my friends, by the way, mnajuanga, I'm like this and this. And then I went with my family. I had told them just the time I told my sisters. So for my family, they knew from the word go.
Okay.
So, but with my friends and other people, I just started talking about it like it's kawaida. And it started like that. Even people would vibe me, even on Facebook, you'd come to my inbox and you're like, hey, Unity, I'm like, are you ready to take ARVs? Because you're only seeing, the pretty face. So I just made it easy for me because I didn't want to carry that burden. And I didn't want to carry that guilt. I didn't want to expose anyone. So I wanted to be responsible.
Wow. Wow.
So yeah,
My God, that's a big thing, and good on you for that. And before we go to
thank you.
you coming out on Facebook, because that's how I also found out. We just want to also, before we speak about people's reaction, Sophie, maybe you can walk us through
Mm.
the process um, of acceptance, and just for her, like Susan, who had to feed on that information, where she already in her mind she thinks she's HIV positive, but once she goes, where you're hoping, maybe I'm assuming too much, and then boom, she's HIV positive. Just the thought process
Mm.
of someone who's been diagnosed with HIV.
You see, when the comparison you've made between Susan and Fanny, first off, of there's the pre-test counseling and the post-test counseling. That makes a world of difference from
Okay.
someone who has gone in for something totally different and then they are hit with the news. I think the pre-test works very well as a shock absorber. So it's beginning to prepare you to wrap your head around it. If you find out perchance that you're given a positive result, then the impact of that is far greater. You're not ready for it, so it's far greater. So when it comes to how you phrased it, acceptance, you have to always remember there's individual differences. We are all different people. There are so many factors that we have to bear in mind that make a difference as to how we react to a situation. So what we'd call protective factors. Because Susan looks like she approached this in a very positive, open-minded manner, and perhaps she had already started preparing herself beforehand. So you have to. I don't know if I understand where I'm trying to go, because then if someone is not open-minded to that kind of diagnosis, and then they get the news and it becomes just a whirlwind of emotions, then there's also your background. How have you grown up? How do you cope? What kind of coping skills do you have? I like how honest Susan is, because she talked about the drinks. The drinks were her friend at some point. And that's it's not for anyone to judge. It's a normal reaction to an abnormal sort of situation. So then if you have poor coping skills, generally speaking, then when you receive the news, it might hit you a bit harder. Then also your support system. Your support system is very important. If you feel like you have a strong positive support system, then you are better placed to accept the news in a faster way and think about now living positively in every sense of the word, because then you're not looking at it like, I'm alone in this. If you end up having a situation where your family shuns you, your community shuns you, then that adds on to it, just compounds your stress. So we have to look at all those individual factors when it comes to accepting the diagnosis. I think also the people that do the test play a very crucial role. So when you go to qualified people like LVCT, who know how to pre and post test counsel you and guide you on nutrition and the things that you need to do other than the ARVs, because it's not just about the medication. Usually the best approach to this kind of situation is a holistic one. So your physical, mental, spiritual, emotional well-being is very important to take into consideration.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thanks for that, Sophie. So Susan, you said it took you from January to about September to what was your mom's reaction? Our parents are everything. So mom's reaction, did you feel like, oh, I've disappointed her? Were you scared to face her? Did you feel like it'll stress her? What was her reaction?
Well, my family is kind of very supportive, and and they know I'm a very strong person. Of course, there's that feeling of, oh my God, what went wrong? Like, what happened? But there was the shocker part, and then there was the part that they just accepted. And I think for me, my family, the most important thing is how I responded and how I decided to accept things and deal with things. So at one point, they even forgot that I'm actually a different person than them. So for me being strong for myself and showing them it's not a big deal and you can be okay is more reason that they got over it very fast and they don't even remember.
Yeah. And what made you decide, because with all, even your strength and the will, just to live like a normal person and say, I won't let my status affect me. So you took onto social media, and yes, I'll be honest, when I saw that, I had to refresh my page like 5 times, like waiting for a long post and at the end to see, okay, maybe it's a joke. And I must say then that means there's still that denial, even from society, about someone close to you testing positive. Why did you decide to take onto social media to inform your friends, your followers?
Okay, it's because first as I said, I didn't want to carry the burden. I didn't want to live in fear. And then I realized, as I said before, I used to drink a lot, and then I used to battle depression for some time back then.
Oh no!
So I'd not done anything good in my life. So I would drink to a point I wouldn't even buy myself a dress. So I looked at this as a blessing in disguise. Most probably, I would have looked at life differently now that I was positive. So I told myself, if I come out, then I'll give people opportunity to see something good that I can do, something, reach out to people who are in fear, reach out to people who are scared to talk about it. I just wanted to do something good to someone, and then I also wanted just to make people see that we can be this healthy, you can be this pretty, you can be handsome, and you can still be positive, live a positive life. Like, we are not sickly, worn out people, I don't want to feel like I'm different. I'm not. Personally, I don't think I'm different. So I wanted to show people, actually, it's not what you think. It's not always what you, it's totally actually different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, I think when you saw it, it was because I opened up towards the end of the year, and then on the first anniversary, that was 16th January this year, I went now full public. So I think you hadn't seen that. So I started like doing it monthly. Yeah, then I narrowed it down to like after 2 weeks. Then it became like whenever I think about it, I just post it. Whenever I think about something, I share. And then when people started really coming to my inbox and really telling me they're inspired, they are just of the same status, and I've encouraged them to do something for themselves and to love them, then it gave me more encouragement to really come out and do something different and show people, hello, I can still be different, and I can still be positive and live a normal life.
Yeah. And in all this coming out and people, can you just describe what type of people? You've said that there are people who have tested positive who come to your inbox. What kind of messages would you get? Is it someone who's given up, or someone who's scared? They're just the reaction. What reactions have you gotten in social media?
Most of them are scared. So they've been living in fear, because you share with people and you think they're your close friends, and then they end up telling other people, like they expose you. So you're living in fear, and then there's a stigma, like ile ya hey ako nayo, hey huyu anaweza tu, so most people really have to protect themselves from other people. So those are the kind of reaction I got. Mostly it's in regards to stigma. So guys would be like, hey, so umenipatia courage, mi nimekaa nayo lakini sijaifikiria naweza come out. So those were the reactions, and most of them were like, you've given me the strength to soldier on. Then there are those who have like tested positive recently, and they don't know how to cope with things. They don't know how to go about it. So when they look at you and you tell them you're also not taken long and you're strong enough, they see an inspiration to soldier on, to move on, to take their medication, and so yeah.
Okay. And when I spoke to you earlier during the week, you said that it's actually shocking that you've gotten some condemnation from people who are positive and are the ones who'd be telling you you should not talk about your story. Why what is the reason for that? Why?
So the fear, I think I've gotten actually negatives from the both side, but mostly it was from the positive people side. It's because of, you find maybe it's a guy, we are in those social media groups, support groups. So he's trying to vibe you, but in those groups, they're using pseudo accounts. So, in real sense, they would not want to be known they are dating you and you're in public and they have not disclosed their status. So you see, it's quite cumbersome for them. But I think the approach is what is wrong. Like, you can't come and tell me, Sue, you can't go public because I've made the decision to go public. I do not condemn those who haven't gone public because we have different kind of strength. I also tell people, take your time. Don't compete with people. We are different. We are born different. Our strengths are different. From the negative people side, I would get from a few people, they'll be like, hey, kwa nini unaambia watu? Mtu ambiangi watu. Sorry, I'm a no nonsense. I'll just tell you off. It's my life. If you have a problem because I'm sharing my status, you're no longer a friend, because I do not need negativity around me. Yeah.
Sophie, stigmatization of people who've come out to declare the status. What do you think about that? Just society and judging.
It's not even why what's up with that? Towards persons living with HIV and AIDS. Sometimes we fear what we don't understand. And so if you really don't know or get the gist of what HIV and AIDS is, and understand that it's, you know, a condition where one can still lead a normal life, then you have your own prejudices, you have your own fears, and you're now putting them on other people. So you have
Okay.
different types of stigma that come into play. So the one we're talking about is societal stigma, and it's where, so we're basically viewing a certain group of people in a negative, with a negative attitude for whatever reason. But that's where stigma comes from. You're viewing a certain group of people with a negative attitude. So, and if you think you're not able to have that kind of attitude, if you're sitting there thinking like me, I'm not one of those people, consider this scenario. When you see a group of do this, let's say you're minding your own business, you're where? Uhuru Highway, and you just see a gathering or a movement of about 100 do this, what's going to come to mind? What comes to your
That
mind?
maybe that there's a politician or there's trouble ahead or it's a protest.
So basically negative views. These could be a chama, they could be a riding club, they could be going to a funeral or a wedding or something, you know. It could be anything. But um, we're all guilty of stigmatizing a certain group of people in one way or another. And I'm just doing that to bring to light that let's not be too harsh and say, oh, how can people still stigmatize in this day and age? It happens. Look at the situation we're in with COVID. We're seeing it, we're living it, we're stigmatizing each other against it. And a study recently came out showing that less than 60% of people would let their children play with the children of a recovered COVID patient. What does that tell you? We are
Yeah.
fearful, like we don't understand what's happening. And so before we start having the time to understand what's going on, the shortest reaction is to stay away from that group of people. May I need to live my life, which loosely translates to stigmatization. So it's not that we should judge each other harshly or whatever. But you see, Susan's approach to it is important because it's that thing of saying, this is my life, I want to live it the way I want to live it. And so she wanted to disclose, and so what? She was okay with it.
Yeah.
She's taking responsibility, even in the dating scene, and saying, look, I'm interested, but you need to know. How many people actually do that? There are so many people who've ended up testing positive because they were entrapped or because they were conned into a certain situation. So before we remember, like they always like saying, before we start judging each other, let's look at ourselves first. So understand
Yeah.
what HIV means. Understand that you can live positively. Take your ARVs, which I think we should also talk about, because it gives you quality of life. And when you're walking on the street, no one needs to know.
True.
But then, on the other hand, let's also appreciate how far we've come. Growing up in the 80s, yeah, think about those days when we were growing up. What did HIV mean then, and what does it mean now? Is the rate of stigmatization the same? Is the negativity around it the same? I think those who came before us did a fantastic job with anti-stigma campaigns and just trying to get people to get to be responsible with their behavior. So it's not just about being promiscuous. It can happen to anybody. You can get it through a transfusion. Drug users tend to share needles. They're not in their right state of mind, you know, poor choices and all, and they get it. So it's not a matter of how, but that's where the association comes,
Yeah.
because it's mostly transmitted through sex. And so here we are again throwing stones. So let's learn, let's understand where it's coming from, and then we know how to deal with it better.
Okay. And Susan, just through your journey, and okay, before the next question, I'd just like to appreciate the guys who've tuned in. I'll read some of the comments. DC Kiri Kubasu, thanks for tuning in. She says, your spirit is so amazing, Susan, and you're so beautiful. God bless you. And then Baba Akim is also watching. He says, very brave of you, Susan Metta, to come on the show to share her story to the world. Hongera, Mama. And then our next comment is from Mercy Ireri. She says, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing. Ache Nyar Pacho all the way from Dubai, always tuned in. She says, "You're an amazing, great woman, Susan. Some are still living in denial." And we have Baking Guru, who says, and is always watching, "My heart is breaking, honestly, to imagine it's 2020 and we still stigmatize PLWHA, that's persons living with HIV and AIDS. Susan, thank you so much for giving PLWH a voice. Continue with a good job." And then we also have Queen Obai all the way from Mombasa. She says, "Wow, keep strong. You're amazing. You're stronger than the virus." So those are some of the comments from our viewers, Susan. So I hope you feel uplifted with that. And
Thank
so,
you.
Susan,
I feel so much uplifted.
Awesome. About issue of blaming self, what can you advise someone who's, many people have messed up in relations, like, you hook up with someone and everyone is guilty. Yeah? You hook up with someone, use protection the first 2 times. Third time, you're already even planning to go to Shago. As in, now you're already thinking marriage. This person, you pick them from wherever, What did you have any bits of self-blame, or in that aspect of, okay, you contracted it and you're not afraid to say it was sexually contracted? Did you have any self-blame after that? Like, why did I do this? Why didn't I do this? Or anger towards someone?
Well, I'll be honest, and I'll tell you the truth is I did a mistake, and this is why actually one of the reasons I came out. We really get carried away, and at times it's not the men who infect us. It could even be us women infecting the men. So like I would tell people, let's not get carried away by the beauty. Let's not get carried away by the lust. Let's love ourselves. I might be strong, somebody else is not strong. Let's like go and test. Let's even give each other that incubation period of like 3 to 6 months before you decide to use protection. Because to be honest, we really, let's just say the truth, we're becoming sexually irresponsible and it's not even good. So like people need to go and test. I am a victim. I'm guilty of being irresponsible because it's also my part to say, let's go and test. You understand? So I cannot blame the other party. I can blame myself as well. It takes both of us to be responsible to say, let's first go for a test. Because if I went for a test, maybe I would have protected someone, or maybe somebody would have protected me. So clearly people need to be very responsible, because at the end of the day, chances are 80% it's sexually transmitted. Let's not get carried away. Let's just be responsible. Let's just test and test and test, so that when you're sure, because when you test, you're careful, you're protecting that other person. And I think it's a big thing when you decide to take the responsibility of protecting the other person, so that you don't live with that guilt of what, actually, if I didn't mess, I would be okay now, because for me, I've passed that, I've crossed that bridge of saying I regret, I'm over now. But there are some people who are still there. So I think to avoid such scenarios, people really need to be serious and take responsibility of their health.
Okay.
But, sorry, can I just add on to what Susan has said? Because there's also a dangerous aspect where people get angry at the results. They get angry at the positive result and decide to take it out on everyone else. They go on a rampage, and you're pissed off, and you're trying to get as many people in your situation as possible, as a way of consoling yourself. Or you're in denial and therefore you're not responsible. So you also have to be very careful when you do go get tested, that your frame of mind, it's difficult to predict how one is going to react. But then what can you do in order to get to a positive or more positive state of mind, so to sort of just avoid a situation like that? Where you're going around and infecting other people just because you cannot come to terms with what has happened to you. So there's also that possibility that could happen.
Okay, back to you, Susan. Thanks for that, Sophie. So you are out. I'm sure you got more friend requests. You know the way we joke ati kwani nimeshinda kura mahali na kosa friend request ndio hiyo. Did you have such an experience now after you whatever came out to say that you're living positive? Did you have such an experience?
I have. Actually, my Facebook is almost, I actually need to pay for it and start getting it sponsored on a light note. Now, I've gotten so many requests.
Okay.
I've gotten so many requests, but you see, there are those requests of people who have been not open about their status, and now they want to know more about. And then there are people who are skeptical, like they're like, how can she be like that? Like, how is that even possible? You know, the curiosity, wanakuja usoro full time. And for me, there's that one thing that I prepared myself from negativity and positivity. I prepared myself from such scenarios whereby kuna wale watakuwa curious, kuna wale watataka kujua ni nini, kuna wale watakuwa seriously interested. But I mean, I'm not pushing anyone away. People will learn one or two things from my mistakes. And you know, so I'm open to anyone just on a level of awareness, you know, and beyond stigma, you know, all those kind of things. Yes. So wako wameja inbox, and they'll be like, Su, we wacha uongo. Dem supu hivi, yani unaka health hivi, you can be like that. I'm like, yes. Exactly. There are those who will tell you, I'll only believe when you go and test. Ati msichana ana glow, the skin is glowing, you know, umebeba. You know, those ones that they use those words, yeah? They're like, there's no way until you test. Then I'm like, guys, it's serious. The only reason I'm looking good is because at times HIV is in the mind. If you accept, it's self-acceptance. If you do not accept yourself, it will always drain you down. There is no way utakuwa healthy. So it's all about self-acceptance. So when you accept yourself and you adhere to medication, because the core thing is self-acceptance and adherence to your medication. Do not miss your medication. Take it on time. Eat well. Eat the right diet. Do not be stressed. And you will glow more than I'm glowing. Wow. You know? So I think people are used, there's this notion of HIV people should be worn out, weary, sickly and stuff. Those are the gone days. Nowadays we are healthy people. I mean, we are living a normal life. You can imagine, I reached my undetectable level after 6 months of starting my medication. That means my viral load was at 0. People need even to understand at this point, you can even marry a negative person and live as a discordant couple. I do not even infect the other person, but if you only take your medication. So people really need to understand the whole aspect of being positive, what it entails, how you're supposed to take your medication. And I need to tell people living with HIV something. You are what you attract. If you're miserable, you'll attract misery. If you're in fear, you'll attract fear. So do not, as much as people are stigmatizing, we are stigmatizing ourselves. Can we stop stigmatizing ourselves and love ourselves? And the moment we show people that we love ourselves and we have confidence, they start loving us, because it starts with you. It doesn't start with them. They'll only fear if you live in fear. But if you live like me, you see nobody fears me anymore. So people living with HIV, kindly, it starts with us, not them. It's for us to show them we are normal people. We are not scared of anything, and we are going to go far. We are going to live long. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like a parting shot, though we still have about 15 more minutes. But that's deep. Thanks so much for that, Susan. It brings hope to someone who is scared to come out. And I'll just read a few more comments. Rispam Babu, thanks for tuning in again. Even last week you were with us. I think she's from the US. She says, I love your spirits following from the States. Yes, Rispa, I remember, you see. I'm taking a lot of lemon juice and eating a lot of fish. My memory is good. Juliet Achwera also watching last week. Thanks. She says, thank you for sharing. You're amazing. There's so much in store for you. And she also says, and Susan is too cute. Her smile, excellent. And then we have my cousin, or rather Aunt Helena Lodge, all the way from Diani, says, Susan, thank you for for letting everyone know that it's important to take medication and be positive always. You are very brave and truly blessed. And then we have Emma M. Masire. Emma says, undetectable is equal to untransmissible. You is equal to you. I guess that's a figurative speech. She must have a lot of information about persons living with HIV. So your support group, Susan, do you think they are helpful? And how did you now approach support groups? Like, where did you start with that?
So there was that time I felt lonely. I felt like I would want people who are like me. I would want to see, So first I went to Facebook, and there's so many Kenyan groups. You just search HIV groups in Kenya, you get them. Nikaingia all of them. I was inside all of the groups, and then now I started narrowing them down. There are those ones it's dating. There are those ones they give in healthy information. So I narrowed down to those ones that I felt like I was getting out of it, because for me it wasn't the dating part, it was getting information, getting to learn about my condition and how to live with it, and to see other people who are walking the same journey. So in those groups, there are WhatsApp groups. So like two groups whereby there's one called Strive, and then there's another one called Healthy Living. The Strive one, we can joke, we can laugh, talk about challenges on a light note and move on. Then there's one called Healthy Living. That one is whereby we have people, medics, and people who are aware about HIV. They are more knowledgeable, so they get to share daily things that we should do, things that we should not do, how to live. So that has been my support system.
Okay. Sophie, support system. What would you advise families, even just medics from a medical point of view? Because we have positives and we also have negative stories about support from even the medical field. What are the do's and don'ts of supporting someone? At least Susan is brave enough to, say she said, I'm walking this journey positively. There's someone else who is just crying every day, who wants to maybe harm themselves.
Well, I don't know. I can only encourage us not to walk alone. If you're in a space like that, there's always that one person you can talk to. And in the world of social media, we've opened up a whole new support system, because there's a lot of positives that come out of social media. So if Susan was able to find these support groups on Facebook and WhatsApp, why can't the next person? Why can't someone else who's feeling like they don't know where to turn to? I would still encourage a person who is suspecting that they might have HIV to get tested. Know for sure. It's empowering, and it also guides the next steps, including starting off on your medication ASAP. If you've already gone for your test and you've tested positively, what next? Maintain the dawas. Honestly, I know societal pressure is one of the things that stops people from taking their medication, because they tend to internalize what society is throwing at them. And you internalize it, and then what? It's you who gets a depleted quality of life. So if you've already been tested, get on your meds ASAP. Find a doctor that you gel with, who you feel hears you and listens to you. And also take care of your mental health. Seek support. Don't walk around on your own or try to be a hero or let the silence kill you, because you also run the risk of developing an anxiety disorder or a depressive disorder. So get the help that you need. We are there. We are there, and we're just ready we are ready and willing to help those who seek us out, right? And also now I think it's important to bring in your support system, sort of prepare them if you can. So if you're thinking about your loved ones, your family, your friends, maybe it's a good idea to take them to like LVCT and get them pre-cancelled before hitting them with the news, because if you just throw it at them, then delivery is very important. How you deliver the news is also very important. Imagine how the news was delivered to you, and then now work with that. But then also they might surprise you and be the backbone that you feel that you need. Yeah, but don't walk this journey alone. And if I can even just point out how we fear HIV, yeah, according to statistics. In fact, let me give you today's one. According to John Hopkins Global Burden of Disease Study, the number one killer in 2020, number one killer is diabetes. As of today, 773,118 people, yeah, have been impacted by diabetes. HIV is number 5 with a number of 389,000. So we are fearing this thing globally. I'm not even talking about Kenya, globally. You're fearing this thing, and it's not even the thing that's killing people or affecting the most people in the world. Yeah. So, which means people are really rallying together, taking their meds and living positively in a responsible way. So, even for our family, our friends, our loved ones, what can you do to help this person live positively? So, if you're a partner, get tested. Yeah. If you're suspecting it might have been passed on to your kids, get them tested. And as they grow older, then you know which language to use to explain to them why they keep taking these dawas every day. But kids are very good at taking dawa. Kids are very good at taking dawa. Unfortunately, sometimes you'll find kids being given medication and they don't know what the medication is for. A 10-year-old is able to understand what's happening. So explain to them, empower them. Because then when kids are running around and getting cut and you don't want them to transmit anything, then they also live their life in an empowered way. So we have to now think outside the box. We have to break these bonds that we are letting tie us up and tie up our lives. So we have to be in a position where we can impact each other positively in this community.
Okay. A few more people have joined us. Elsie Lorraine, finally you made it today. She says, I'm glad I made today. This lady is strong. The lessons learned from here. Thank you, OINK. And thank you so much, Elsie, for always watching. Anastasia Kambua says she's following. Thank you, Anastasia, for joining us. Malaika Matunda, today you showed up. Thanks for joining us. Such a powerful show, Susan. You are blessed and an amazing woman. And then, Susan, again, one thing that maybe people have to hear out here, you told me that there are very many married people who've tested positive, if I remember, who inbox you, and it's actually a big, basically you can say it's a big percentage of people living with HIV and AIDS, but have not told their partners that they've tested positive. What do you normally advise them? And why do you think that's the situation? Because that is actually scary.
What I would just tell people is I think like the moment I knew I tested positive, whoever was my partner then, I was open and I had to go and tell them the truth. I think you owe someone the truth. You need to be responsible, as I said. So, like, kindly just, can you imagine you wake up one day and you find someone taking their meds and they never told you? Clearly, that's inhuman, that's cruel. However much it pains, if it's hard for you, don't even need to talk to your counselor at your facility. Take them there. The counselor, you brief the counselor before, they'll be able to talk with your spouses, and then it will be easier to work with them. Because I don't think it's fair for you just to keep quiet and not say anything, and you're out there living large and knowingly, like every day, knowingly you're taking your meds, hiding. And that is stigma. This is what we need to fight. That is, you're actually stigmatizing yourself. You're living in fear of not letting the other person know, because you have that fear of what will be the reaction. Will I be dumped? I don't think it would go that far. Let's just, because if you put yourself in that person's shoes, if it was you, how would you feel? Would you even have forgiven that person for doing that? So, let's take that responsibility of just telling our whatever spouses or partners. If it's hard, the best channel is to use your counselor at your facility where you're getting your medication.
Wow. Okay. And then, vile we ni mrembo sana. Hey, I'm just staring at you. How many people have run away? Because it's common, even when I was watching other interviews, and I also watched your interview with Diana. It was a very good interview with Diana Ketch, and your face beats, man, your makeover, so pang. So how many people have shown interest and then run away because now she's saying she's positive, or have stayed on and okay, you had already told us there are some who say hapana, lazima tuende ndio tujue wewe uko positive.
Yeah, there are those who will be like, actually, when I decided to come out, I had to prepare myself psychologically that there are those who will run away and there are those who will stay. So it helps with me not feeling bad about it. So I expect I tell you something, some of them, but even go to you. They're like, "Hey, uko kitu. How?" So the other day somebody asked me, "You mean you're ill?" And I asked him, "Do I look like I'm ill?" I am not ill, but you just allow them to be themselves because of the stigma, guys are still in fear. So you just allow them to be. And then there are those who digest after some time, they come back slowly, like, well, I want to be your friend. I mean, you me see this thing from a different perspective. I thought like they're supposed to be, it's supposed to look like death and stuff. So, I mean, definitely there's always those negative vibes about it, and then there's positive. The thing is, you just ignore whatever. You don't let it get, into you.
Yeah.
Because they're human beings. Even if it was me, I would have reacted that way, So kindly do not judge or feel bad about someone's reaction. It is human. We are all humans. We respond differently. Do not even let it bother you. If they're not your friends, they were never meant to be your friends.
Okay.
Like me, when I tested positive, all my girlfriends chucked me. I remained with like 5 people. But you see, I've worked with the 5, and now you'll see people saying, "Oh, I know that girl." So forgive them, move on, don't take it personally. It's human.
Wow. And have you gotten any and I'm so sorry, you had said you lost your job, but actually your condition is a blessing in disguise. Remember, I was telling you with your status and what you've decided, I mean, just to teach and reach out to those who are scared to come out. Basically, you're changing lives. And I told you, tutakuwa tunakuona kwa ndege. I'm about to send you for perfume, chocolate, typical Kenya. Nilete ino.
Amen to that.
I'm about to.
Amen to that. With a list.
I'm one of them. Anyway,
no makeup.
Makeups.
And then she know we are live
makeups.
And you've just confessed to your habits.
Exactly. No, I don't do that. See, now she'll be bowling. Anyway, have you experienced a place where maybe you wanted to go to employment and you this discrimination? I was actually going to ask you about losing friends, but you've talked about it. Have you experienced anything like maybe you wanted to work somewhere and there's this or not?
No, I haven't experienced any. I haven't totally.
Okay. That means then
I have to be honest, I haven't experienced any.
Okay. That sounds
it does happen.
Yeah, it does happen even for people who come for like domestic workers, people who are looking for jobs, kazi ya nyumba, there's still that fear of we test her because there's a young baby. And there's still a
by
bit
the way,
of
with house helps, I think can I say something about it?
Yes.
Like I've been, there are these major groups, like there's a topic I saw on Bayabi where some few months ago about a lady who was talking about house helps testing. I'm sorry to say this, I think there's a lot of ignorance out there. People think when you're HIV positive, you can infect anyone at any time. There should be a lot of sensitization about that, the fact that people take their medications and they reach that U is equals to U, that is being undetectable. Your viral load is at 0, so you cannot infect the other person. So the reason most households do not disclose their status is because of stigma. They will not be employed because people have this notion of you're going to infect my child. Not unless you just have an ill motive. We can't infect. I mean, people really need to understand the whole thing, and let's not be ignorant enough not knowing you don't need to sleep with anyone to get HIV. You can even, it could be an accident, it could be a transfusion, as you said before. And again, shit could happen and you get it. It doesn't choose specific people. So kindly, let's also, especially house helps, let's love them. As long as they're genuine, let's give them jobs. It's unfair, and I don't think it's right. They're human beings. If you, as an employer, would test positive and your house help refuses to work for you, how would you feel? Let's learn to understand other people's predicaments.
Okay. Wow,
I
that's
like
deep.
that. I like that
Yeah.
spin of. I mean, yeah. If you're the one being tested as an employer, I'm coming to work for you. I want to know your status. Yeah,
Yeah.
because what we're doing now, when it comes to that kind of situation, that's structural stigma. So at the workplace, you're not able to get a job, or you're fired from your job because of your status. And like, let's to go back, Adesh, you had asked what we shouldn't say and what we shouldn't do. So those are some of the things we shouldn't be doing. Yeah. And what we shouldn't be saying is referring to persons living with HIV and AIDS as we are gonna, what did we call it? Mdudus,
Ndudu.
you know. And there's
Ndudu.
another one Susan
Akana.
had
Amekanyanga
mentioned earlier.
waya.
And the Kanyanga
Yeah.
wire.
Amekanyanga
Yeah.
waya.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as in, those are derogatory terms, and they are very rude and they're disrespectful. And it ends up leaving that person with a sense of shame and loneliness and sadness and despair. Why? Why? So it's important to change or have a shift in our attitudes. So whether it's in the public, within your community, one person at a time, whatever we can do to shift attitudes will help us get a step further in
Yeah.
preventing that kind of behavior. Learning and sharing the facts, the correct information, doing what Susan is doing, standing up against misinformation, and just trying to educate one another so that we alter our attitudes to a place where we're able to support one another through this work.
Okay. I'll get to the let's say last question before our parting shot. Maybe Susan, you could, what is your daily life like from breakfast to lunch? Have you had to change your lifestyle as compared to now when, let's say you hadn't tested positive? What is your day like?
Of course, my lifestyle has changed. For starters, like, I need to be a responsible person because I need to be healthy. So I need to eat well. So I normally take my medication in the morning at 9, and because if I take it at night, I get insomnia. So I have to take it in the morning at 9. So I wake up early first. Normally it's praying. God has been my pillar. Without God, I wouldn't have been here. So for me, prayers is first. In the morning, prayers, a notebook. I normally write to God the things I want Him to do for me on that day. And then after that, I don't eat breakfast. I cook food. Unajua mimi ni mtu wa ugali, so I need some ugali and something. Then I take my medication at 9. As I told you, I'm a jack of all trades. I shower wherever, then I get out. I go and do whatever, anything that I would do to earn a living, I just go and do. And then I make sure in between the day I snack with fruits. Between 10 to 11 or 3 to 4. I would maybe do a banana or an orange. Fruits is very important. And then I make sure I have lunch, but I don't do heavy meals because with the ARVs at times you gain a lot of weight. So I do, the breakfast is what is very heavy, but the lunch is a bit mild. And then for dinner, I make sure I avoid a lot of meat because, you want to sleep and you don't want to add a lot of weight. I do a lot of, what is it called? Mboga za kienyeji. It's very important with someone who is positive. It's very important. So I do them. So that is after I come back home, I cook for myself. I do that. Then I just again shower, and then I pray. I normally pray before and then I just go through my inboxes. Now I have time to talk to, because there are people who have already shared, the people who've been following me from the word go, they follow me. I've given them my number, so we chat on WhatsApp. If somebody who has an issue, they'll come to my inbox. They'll be like, so how do you think I should tackle this? How do you think I should go around this? So kidogo after that, then I sleep. That's my day. It's not complicated. I live an easy life. That is how I have survived.
Wow. Oh, I'm so amazed. I'm amazed. That is healthy living 101. Are you allowed to have a glass of wine?
And I walk, by the way, in the evening. I walk in the evening. I walk.
Oh,
I'm lazy. I don't go for exercises, but I'm
yeah.
not consistent. So the best thing I do from my house to Kitengela and back, I just walk. So it helps me a lot with the exercises. Or a glass
Wow.
of wine, I will not lie. Once in a blue moon, it's allowed. But the doctor will
Okay.
tell me, apana.
Yeah.
Hakuna.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my God, Susan, that's when you le day, man, because I know of so many people who have found out their status and then gone into depression and then into drinking because of the denial aspect. And what actually kills them is not HIV and AIDS, it's alcoholism or liver cirrhosis. You see. So that's good to hear. So I'll start with Sophie. Oh yeah, and Susan, would you date? Are you planning to date? Are you dating? It's none of my business, but it's my
I am
business.
not dating. I know
Mm-hmm.
I am not dating, but I would love to date. I would love to date somebody who's living positively. Not because I have an issue with people living negatively, but I would want
Mm-hmm.
somebody we can walk the journey together, somebody who understands how we
Mm-hmm.
go about things. And
Mm-hmm.
again, he has to be around 40 plus, 42 plus, huko.
Hey, mumesikia
And
nyi
somebody who
wa
is
guys.
open minded.
Awesome. Ah, yeah, we are here marketing 101. So I know that dudes, some people watch these lives undercover and they'll still be watching the whole week. So mumesikia from 41 Naju, Susan is ready. She's hot cake and she's ready. Thanks so much for that, Susan. Sophie, what's your parting shot before Susan's final word?
Positive connections. Let's make positive connections. Let's be there for one another. If you're someone's support group, you decided to be in that support group for a reason. So be there. Be there. Be a positive connection for a person living with HIV and AIDS.
Yeah.
And you'll find that, like Susan says, people forget. They forget,
Mm-hmm.
and you're able to just have those relationships in a manner that you deserve to have. And then also,
Yeah.
like she said earlier, you are what you give. You give negative, you get negative. But if you want to make an impact and you are a positive impact in someone's life, then you're able to walk around knowing that you've done the best you could possibly do. But let's yeah, positive connections. Let me just leave it at that.
Okay. And before Susan, before your parting shot, and another comment that I'll read, guys, if you're watching, remember we had hosted Jerry Wamwigwi last 2 weekends ago, and Jerry started. She's a victim of the domestic violence survivor. Let me say survivor, not victim. Sorry, survivor of domestic violence, and she actually opened a home, a shelter for women and kids. Not that she's ignoring the dudes, it's because you can't put them together, but she's equally helps guys who are going through, survivors of GBV, and they do this voluntarily. So of course there are expenses that they incur. They have to go like for rescue missions. They need airtime to call the cops. They need clothes for these kids, for these women, for these ladies. So please, you can find her on Facebook on Usikimye, and you can support Usikimye through their pay bill number that's on the screen, 891300, and the account is Usikimye. So anyone who's watching, please follow them on Facebook, like their page, follow their stories every day. There are actually some sad stories about people who've been rescued, children, men, ladies. So please follow them on Facebook and support where you can. 10 bob, 50 bob, it makes a difference. And also, if you want to chat with Susan, she is Susan Metta, though she keeps changing her name on Facebook. Susan Wawairimo, Susan Adhiambo, Susan Jalango, I don't know. But anyway, right now, yeah. So you'll find her on Facebook, and you can chat her, Susan. If after the show you can comment on the comment, I mean, you can respond to the comments that are here. Maybe there are people who want to follow with you, walk with you in your journey, ask questions. Please feel free to go to the comment section. So, and then
Sure.
I'll go to Emma Masire. Says, Susan, thank you for sharing. We need more mentors like you, especially for our adolescents and young persons, also caregivers living with HIV, and taking care of children living with HIV. Thank you so much, Emma. Ben Koech says, I live in Eldoret. Thank you for inspiration. Wow. So Sophie inboxed me. So Sophie Ben Koech says, inbox him, and he says to you, Susan, asante sana. And Evans Ouma Odembo says, hatuko chini ya maji. Wow. But I love her spirit. Good stuff, Evans. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for just sharing that. That means a lot for someone who's watching. So Susan, your parting shot. What final word can you give us?
I would just want to tell people living with HIV to love themselves, as I said before. Love, love, love yourself. Nobody will ever love you. Do not settle for relationships because you're out of desperation because you're positive. You can still be positive and get love out there. So love, love, love yourself. If you're full of love, you will attract love.
Yes.
Also, kindly take your medication. Take your medication, take them on time. It's your life. Do not skip, do not, you need to take your medication. That is life. Eat well, eat well, eat well. Don't fear people. Do not live in fear. Do not care. Sorry to say this, but have that ignorant kind of an attitude. Do not care about people. Live for you. It's like you live in your own planet alone. Like nobody else exists. And so that we can stop this thing of people fearing us because we are supposed to be very sickly and worn out. And it's not about money. It's just about the mind. Can your mind just be positive? If your mind is positive, everything else will be working for you. Do not be living like, Kai, what if they know? What will they think? People will still talk, whether you're not HIV, whether you're HIV, people will still talk, and they will never stop. So the back is that it starts with you. You define yourself. Yeah, I think that, and I just want to tell people outside there living with HIV, mob love. Let's conquer this. Let's slay to them jamas out there. Do not fear at somebody. Let me tell you something. If you tell somebody you're positive and they just ignore you, let them be. They were never meant to be. They were not genuine in the first place, because real love does not care. Yeah, so just be yourself. Stop living in fear, because you're also affecting your health. Be a free spirit and live longer.
Wow, I wish I give you a virtual hug. Thank you so much. Thank you, Susan. And Carol Maritim, I think, has just joined, and she said, Susan, good job, dear. So guys, yes, Susan has she's done an amazing job just telling us as it is, and I've learned quite much from you, Susan. Thank you so much. Sophie, for your wisdom, as always, helping those. You see, there's someone who's saying you inbox them. That's someone who might need help. For anyone who needs help, you can inbox Sophie. Sophie, you can find her at Mambo Wakili for any advice. She will guide you on that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, this is OINK. My name is Adero Ocholar. Remember to always roll the R, and remember you can also find us on YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel at OINK on YouTube. We are growing as a family, and here we discuss openly different topics that can help you and me. So please take care. Have a blessed Saturday and an amazing weekend. Thanks, ladies. Until next time.
You.
Bye. Love
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.